Yeah.
Technology capable.
All right.
Even better. That was the pre-interview. Even better. That was the
That,
pre-interview.
okay, so we can forget that question.
Even better. Even
Even
better.
better.
That's just for you. Even better. That's just for you.
Well, then we'll go on to question 2 then. What is a turnaround and how do you accomplish one?
So you don't have to own something to turn it around. And that's the counterintuitive Jedi thing. Because before, when we were talking about P.F. Chang's, I don't have to own the restaurant to make it better by doing a monthly happy hour kicking off during the Super Bowl. So this is the issue, is that when you say turnaround, most people do a one-time buying something out of financial duress, out of bankruptcy. Why? Because that's the vulture nature of turnaround. But what if you're benevolent, and what if you really knew what you were doing as a turnaround artist, as a turnaround Jedi, as a turnaround machine? Because people who are really, really good at it, they can eyeball a restaurant or business or Michael Burry, day 5 of hashtag 26 days of Grok 4 ducking BK. You can run an audit from the Westin Hotel, not even cracking the books, which is what I did accidentally at Palo Alto City Council meeting when I sniffed out that Enron was being audited by David Duncan incorrectly. So it turns out that's also chapter 10 of my mentor's book, Interrogation. When you are able to interrogate 3 questions, 1, since we're talking about a restaurant, is the front door clean? 2, look at the to-go orders. If there aren't 15 to-go orders, they're going bankrupt. They're going bankrupt. Where if you're a Chinese food restaurant and 90% of your revenue isn't takeout, something's wrong. Maybe not 90%, but it definitely isn't just 50-50. And 50-50 is you breaking even. So in doing a turnaround, what you're doing, if you knew what you're doing, being incredibly capital efficient, would be, can you spend no money? Can you take this eaten grapefruit, a notepad, and then a Sharpie? Can you use that to turn a business around? And people are like, there's no way. There's no way. And then now I am Irv Grausbeck. Now I am Mark McCormack, because you can turn it around using literally nothing. You can pick up trash in the parking lot. You can paint the dumpster and call it a turnaround. So that's high level. But what's not low level, but how do you start, is the highest level and the lowest level, they're actually the same, which is can you make it slightly better if you're to spend 60 minutes doing it? Not even 3 hours doing it, not even 3 mil doing it. Can you get 2% better 1 hour in? And usually the answer is definitively yes. And then you start pulling tricks out of the playbook, which are doing food sampling, asking questions. Why is this thing broken? Asking questions that are genius and awesome questions, which is the parking lot messed up? Where's the bottleneck? Do you connect on Yelp? What's your cost per lead? How can you get more takeout? How do you do more catering? And all those questions, because they're genius, they have genius answers. And if they won't answer the questions for you, then you're going to be the one who's driving and catalyzing. But that's why you ask high quality questions. Once you start asking low quality questions, you're done because your brain's toast.
That makes sense. I don't know. There's a dog barking. You can't hear that, can you?
I can.
Oh no.
It's okay. Leave it.
One of
Leave
the
it.
neighboring yeah. I'm sorry about that, by the way. One of the neighboring apartments has a dog that they leave, and I guess there's anxiety separation. Speaking of dogs, we spoke about your dog, Tom Brady. I wanted to know how you acquired Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, I shopped via Bailey and Abby Ray. So, in the same way that a turnaround person does the underwriting by looking at the mentors. I mean, the reason Tom Brady's a good dog is he's exactly Bailey, his dad. So, I mean, Bailey's a great dog, and Abby Ray's a great dog. So, I mean, when two great dogs have a dog, and then before I picked him up, I had a talk with the two dogs, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to be ripping your dog from you at 8 weeks, because that's just how
Yeah.
it works. And then I brought over something that smelled like me, so that way I'm like, look, this is what I smell like. This is the pillow. So have your dog smell the pillow, and prepare them for prepare them. And so and so the first time I held him, he was like literally the size of this grapefruit, maybe smaller, and he fell
Oh, wow.
asleep. Yeah, he fell asleep because he was like, I think 4 weeks old, 5 weeks old. So I saw him, and then I was going to see him again, but he fell asleep and he got stressed. So I just gave him a 180, and I had his nose headbutt his mom's butt because he woke up stressed.
Yeah.
He woke up stressed, and instead of being stressed, I'm like, yeah, I get it. You wake up, because when you fall asleep for 3 minutes and you're 5 months old, that's like you and I falling asleep for like a day, like 24 hours from a percentage of time perspective. So I headbutted his nose into his mom's butt, and then he looked up at me and he's like, wow, you're a genius. I'm like, you don't know the half of it. And then he's like, and then the mom was like, this is a good owner.
That is pretty smart, actually. That's pretty cool. Tom Brady, of course, as the people watching don't know, is a white Shih Tzu. Looks like a very good dog. And Larry Chang's had him for a while. Why pick the name Tom Brady?
So it's not everybody thinks I'm a super fan. What
Uh-huh.
it does is it reminds me that you have no idea what popcorn's gonna pop. And then also it's kind of humiliating because, I mean, check the boxes. I'm kind of better than him in most people's estimation in every category. But for him to have the audacity to think, hey, I should not only make the team, I should be captain of this team. I'm like, bro, you got lucky winning that Super Bowl. Like, what, like, I'm wondering if you're going to even start next year. But for him to set the okay, so what he did was he didn't limit himself with a limiting belief, and that's what I needed to learn from him. Even though I feel like I'm smarter than him, but then I'm glad I named my dog Tom Brady, because it lets you know that the human Tom Brady is actually smarter than me, which I didn't think was possible. So what it does is it's like a totem, like with Native American, where it's a reminder of something. And then there's rankings of the totems on the pole. But instead of it being a hierarchy, it's a live action effigy that reminds you to be dumber and smarter than people at the same time, which he does. And I kind of taught him that, but I don't know if he just ran with it. So now I kind of question who taught who what, which is actually the best mentor-mentee dynamic, which is I don't know. I'm confused at this point. And then even saying that you've met him makes people, it's like claiming to know the Easter Bunny. It's like claiming to be Elon Musk's Eskimo brother. You're like, no way. You're like, no way, no way, no way. And then for Elon Musk to know your first and last name, like there's no way. There's no way. Or like Elon Musk or Tom Brady eyeballing me in a room. Where you're like, why is the Easter Bunny eyeballing you? Oh, because I'm fluffy and I'm kind of competitive and I'm trying to beat the shorts, which Tom Brady also does. He tries to kind of act dumb in order for people to say, oh, he's a systems quarterback. Like he baits people into doing that. Ditto Elon Musk baiting you to say something aggressive. And you've seen me do it in rooms where somebody will say something negative and I'll pin it. And then people will be boldened. They'll get bolder and then they'll slip. And then it's like, aha, boom, 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 boom. Let's do you as a turnaround. And then most people are like, you've got mad game. I'll let you do the turnaround because, I start asking pointed questions because I saw what you did with power. With power. You did some cliche things. Therefore, I get to turn you around from a space of love, not from a space of I'm going to own you. I'm going to turn you around and never want to talk to you before this call. That's also Tom Brady with speed reading humans and talking trash in a way that is not how other people talk trash. Talking trash, explaining things, talking trash where it's competence and confidence and PQRST, preview, question, read, summarize, test.
Well, that's very interesting. It kind of answers my second question. What is the main message of your stream?
Just operate at an 88 of an IQ where you're just doing preview, question, read, summarize, test. And if you're not positive on each video that's watched, why are you trying to subscribe for more? If you're not ROI specific, why would you? Okay, here's the problem. Most people watch a video and they never get better. They never try anything new. They're told, hey, expect when you bring Jim Quick's book to a coffee shop, expect people to have these 3 questions. All the questions lead to give me $800. All of them. And then when people don't want to do it, or people they question that their brain, you've seen in rooms where some people's brains just explode, where they're just like, whoa, 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 what? And that's PQRST. It's not that I want your brain to explode, but I view it as a channel not to transfer knowledge. It's a channel to transfer knowledge into a morsel of financial benefit, to do something small that's actionable versus knowledge, compile more knowledge. I'm just going to be a knowledge warehouser versus what within Limitless, me quoting page 62, page 64, page 67, or memorizing things and coming up with like a word, or memorizing things such as chapter 5 mentorship, chapter 3 pace copy. So how that plays to taking a book that's less than $20 and trying to make $800. You don't have to cut me in for the 20, the 800, or the any of it. You just get to practice, and then once you leave $0, this is the most magical thing you'll ever do in your life.
That is excellent information. Thank you. Another question, if you have one, what is your favorite live stream on YouTube?
Not to sound like Tom Brady, my mentor, but my favorite live stream is my next live stream or this live stream. So he got asked, "Hey, what's your favorite Super Bowl ring?" And he stole that answer from the Michigan equipment person, and he said, "Oh, my favorite ring is my next ring." So the way that live streaming works, I think my favorite live stream, and I'm being honest, it's this live stream. Why? Because it started off in a certain way, and you can feel how it's becoming magical because it started off pretty rough, right? And
Yeah, we
then
had some audio issues.
not just the audio issues, we had some IQ issues. We had some IQ issues with the guy wearing the red. And so, and then you saw, like, I did not beat myself up. I did not beat myself up, right?
No,
Where I
not at
easily could
all.
have said a swear word because I like to cuss. But that's the EQ component of of pressing ahead and saying favorite live stream. That would be this one.
That's pretty cool. What do you? One thing is we don't have our hats on today, but what do you appreciate about cowboy culture?
That would be from before where we talked about sharing cowboy cooking,
Oh yeah,
where just because initially the origin story is Kentucky Derby, and then you told me about your Kentucky background,
hmm
the the cowboy component later was a magical component, which is the brand of charcoal that has a latent heat that
hmm
operates where two lumps cook pounds and pounds and pounds of food. Granted, you don't just use two lumps, but you use a stack of it, but the stack of charcoal doesn't just grind into dust. It's just you lose about 20 grams. So you barely lose any of it, and it doesn't turn into ash, it turns into heat. And so that's cowboy culture of, oh my God, I used to do it this way. Now I'm going to do it this way, which cowboy culture then goes into Duck Nine culture, which goes into my YouTube live practice, which is sharing ideas to get better and better. In fact, the reason we're on this right now is you said, "Hey, Larry, have you thought about doing edited videos? Hey, Larry, you need to have somebody ask you questions." And I found that very helpful. And then that's this interaction. So I hope that I'm embodying cowboy culture. So I'm going to turn the question around to you. What
hmm
within cowboy culture is appealing to you?
That would be horse riding and training, which I used to do back on Windy Hill Farm in Kentucky, which as not a lot of people know, used to be owned by Jerry Powell, who was the first woman in the world to embezzle $6.2 million from the Volt Company in 1992. Not a lot of people know that Windy Hill Farm was funded primarily by embezzled money from a banking firm owned by Volt Company in Louisville, Kentucky.
We could go
So I
one or
grew up.
two.
Oh, sorry. No, I grew up on these farms, raising horses and training them and riding them, and all the time not knowing where the money was coming from.
This conversation could go towards money and embezzlement, or horses and development.
I prefer horses in development myself. I learned a lot raising horses.
What were your thoughts where a horse would read you?
Oh, they always read you. Horses pay so much attention to human beings that are around them. People don't realize that they're very intellectual animals. It's just they operate on a very, I would say, almost autistic brainwave, kind of it's an off spectrum brainwave. They have a lot of sensitivity to everything coming in at the same time. That's why if you ever want to shoot a gun around a horse or from a horse's back, you have to train them for years. People don't realize that when you see a horse in a movie that's next to a gunshot, what that involves is years and years of training where you're standing behind the horse making loud noises and you're desensitizing the horse to it at the same time while making the horse remain focused on something else. And that kind of training is involved in everything horses do. You have to get them to pay attention to other things constantly in order to be ridden properly, in order to pay attention to what commands you want to give it, or whether they're oral or physical commands, because those are the only two commands horses will ever respond to properly. And it's a lot harder to get them to respond to oral commands than physical.
Can you give an instance where a horse read you and you coached and prepared the horse to be better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when you start with riding a horse, you don't ever put anything on a horse's back. You don't put a saddle on its back. You just run it around in circles at first and get it used to having a bridle on its face. And you don't put the bit in, you just put a bridle on, which goes around the corner of the jaw. You run it around in circles. Then you put the bridle in, which covers the tongue. It's supposed to go under the tongue so you can guide the horse a lot better. You run it around and around with the bridle and the bit in. Then you put a blanket on its back and you run it around and around and around with a blanket. Then you put the actual saddle on its back, you run it around, and this takes months to get to this point. And then at some point, you actually get on the horse. And every time you get on the horse, no matter how much training you've done, unless you've desensitized that animal to that point, it will always buck and start going crazy. And you will have to deal with that and have to desensitize that animal to that motion to where they'll calm down, or they'll just continue being wild and bucking people off their backs constantly. And to gain that kind of trust, you have to feed them a little bit when they're being run around. You have to make them pay more and more attention to you and start trusting you when you're not even riding them. Until the point you get on their back where they realize this is someone I don't want to buck off.
What's another horse person disconnect where you had to manage the person that then connected to the horse?
Oh, like if somebody else is riding a horse that you've trained, that's really hard. Training horses to ride with other people that they don't know, it's a long time as well. If the jockeys, for instance, are typically not with horses a lot of the time, people don't know this, then they do get into a training regiment with the trainer where the jockey will ride the horse every once in a while, but usually not for a very long time. The horse is desensitized to another person by way of making sure that the horse is comfortable with you first. And then the trainer will walk the horse with another person on its back for a while, quite a while. And then you finally let go of the bridle and give it to the person on the horse's back, but you still stay with the horse. You feed it, you pet it, you make sure that it can still move with you, and then you slowly back off until the horse understands that the person riding it that is not you is okay.
Have you seen horse whisperer, dog whisperer, vagina whisperer?
I've seen horse whisperer. I haven't seen dog whisperer.
You haven't seen Caesar Milan's thing?
I've seen a couple episodes of Caesar Milan. Yeah, he is the dog whisperer. I forget that that's the name of the show. He has that technique where he turns his back slightly to the dog
Yep.
and will back
Yep.
up to the dog.
Yep.
That's something kind of like we do with horses as well.
Right. Where you're not confronting the horse. Have you seen the
Yes.
horse? Have you seen the horse that guards that English castle, and then people approach it, and then the horse either hates you
Oh,
or
yes.
yeah,
With the English guard horses, they are usually fully desensitized to people being around them, but sometimes you'll find one of them that will nip or bite somebody's hair.
yeah.
And that's the kind of behavior that you try to guard against, but you really can't get a horse to totally desensitize to humans being around it in that capacity. It's very hard.
Have you seen the one
Um,
horse that's like he runs the gambit, and they encourage the horse to either be really nice or be really mean? And there's hours of footage
yeah.
where you can see where the horse is like, ooh, I really like this human that they literally just met. It's not a setup, because you can tell the genuine, like, oh, is this large beast gonna like me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mother was a horse trainer as well for many years, along with her brother. And they both have different relationships with the horses they train. The brother, her brother was not always the favorite of the horses they trained, but my mother, she worked with a lot of horses, was definitely liked by a lot of horses, but one or two times she actually had to punch a horse because it got that bad. Um, she
I
got
mean,
kicked by a horse once. I remember that was a really bad incident.
I mean that's just kind of it's I mean, that's how you. I mean, even with Tom Brady, I sometimes beat him up with like some pretty negative words.
Yeah, but I've seen you with Tom Brady. You're not too bad with him. I don't
But
think
with
he
a
quite
horse,
knows that with a horse, they understand words that humans say, and they definitely understand when they're negative. Um, when you say no to a horse, it's always supposed to provoke the response where the horse is supposed to stop completely and objectively think about what it's doing, which is not always the result of just saying no to a horse. Um, but yeah, that's basically the tall and short of it. Is it's training is a long and involved process with horses.
did you
And
ever journal? Did you ever journal? So if you've got a stable of horses, you take notes on, hey, this is what I want my horse to do. This is this is my week to week.
yeah, yeah, the training schedule is something that's written out. Usually my mother used regular notes and notebooks. I was kind of sloppy. I would just keep everything mentally. I don't know what her brother did, but my mother did have medical notes as well because she eventually became a horse nurse with Equine Services, which is the largest hospital for horses in the country in Louisville, Kentucky. Um, there were a lot of procedures that she did on horses, and they also raised a Zapaloosa, which was a zebra crossbred with an Appaloosa horse. She had a lot of notes on that. Um, and so medical notes and training notes were always in long form, written out notepads.
What is your practice for taking notes for whatever areas you're trying to self improve on?
Right now, I do journaling.
Okay.
I just write out long form from. I use LibreOffice because it's the nice free version of Windows Word.
Have you
So I've
ever
got
have you ever
no.
used
Go ahead.
have you ever used a small piece of paper to turn into a large piece of paper? the reason I ask is it's very manipulative to cajole money out of people. Is when you have them repeat something. Did you see any of my November 21, November 20, and November 7, where I was at a conference and I would
Yes.
yell, "Hey, repeat that," and then I would write shit down, and literally people just come up and just throw money because they're just like, "You seem like you know what you're talking about," and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, so what did you see?"
So I think I saw the one on the 7th. You were at a conference, and the conference subject was about a database management system. I don't know if that was the 7th, but it was earlier in the month. And it was a database management system I can't remember the name of. It sounded like Sky something.
Aerospike, yeah.
Aerospike, yes. And you had asked questions to the presenter maybe twice in the time I was watching. And then you went down, you panned the camera down to your layout, and I noticed the notepad there, the pen, and you had a very impressive layout there of notepad, pen, your Duck 9 ID,
Right?
and basically showing everybody what you've got there, what you have to offer.
Right?
No, it was perfect.
Right? And then when he would talk, I would say, "Is that chapter 5 architecture?" And he's like, well, it's 14, but a little bit of 5." And then he showed a map. I was the only person who paid attention to his product map. I'm like,
Yeah.
where are you on your map? And he's like, about right here. And so he got better when I was asking, like, where, point where. And he's like, oh, this is where it plugs in. And then I'm like, is this built upon JSON architecture? Is this built on Ruby? Is this built on uh, these two things? And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like, this is genius because now you can cram terabytes of stuff. Now you can cram it all in. Whereas before it was, shut everything down. Shut everything down. So the reason I ask these questions is when you show up somewhat prepared, and there's evidence right there. They have an O'Reilly book written that's already written. They literally have the book, and they can even give it to you for free.
Mm.
And then being able to take notes and then apply it to their presentation by asking, hey, can you expand on what you said? Can you repeat that? Can you point to where it is on the map? Ditto the bankruptcy conference with incredibly technical content on liens and chapter 7, chapter 11 election, negotiating with the judge, negotiating with multiple parties,
Yeah.
and then just sitting in the front row and just asking, hey, can you repeat that? Hey, what did you mean by that? Can you expand on this? Am I the only one asking questions here? And they
Yeah.
always are like, oh, no. Thanks for your energy. They don't say it that way, but yeah.
Well, I don't think I did a presentation in 2015 for, back then Uber and Lyft were just coming to Wisconsin. So I was working with the transportation department in Wisconsin at the time. I had been a cab driver for years. I started a website called Ride Safe, and I did a presentation for the state transportation bureau, their statewide conference. And during my presentation, I wanted people to ask questions as much as possible. I didn't want to go through the whole PDF file by myself, talking the whole time, and not have somebody stop me and say, what do you mean by this? Or can you go in depth more about that? That's why I had more notes with me on the subjects I was going through. And I think there's no way a single person ever should go through and do a full presentation without audience interaction.
Was this 2014?
I think it was late 2014. Yeah, when Uber and Lyft just started in Wisconsin, they had gotten state approval in I think January or August of 2014,
Okay.
sometime around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in doing turnarounds, I literally turned around a rocket ship by turning around Uber, by doing the Uber turnaround like I'm in front of a PF Chang's, where Uber kept on saying, call an Uber, call an Uber. And they didn't have a phone number in all their ads, in all their correspondence. And I'm like, you guys, am I the only one asking questions, which is what phone number do people call? And they're like, no, you got to get it in the App Store. I'm like, so that's why I, for almost 2 years, ran their API for them from outside of their company. And people are
Yeah.
like, there's no way. I'm like, yeah, way.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you give the 415 phone number to a Bonvoy, to a hotel. So the hotel needs to call a limo for a guest. And at first it was just black cars. So the the concierge would have to get a phone number, and then they would give the phone number to a guest. They'd be like, hey, if you want your Uber, call it with your smartphone. So they would call it, and then I would text them back a link that opens in the App Store with my referral code already embedded. It's problem solved, because
Yeah.
people would never call from a landline. They would always call from their iPhone. They would get a text back, and you just clicked it, and we were signing up like tens of thousands at $60 a pop.
That's pretty damn good. I remember
Oh,
when Uber was actually making people a lot of money that way.
and I kept on
Yeah.
telling them, I'm like, look, I feel guilty. I feel guilty because you look up you Google, this is back when people still did search. The
Yeah.
only phone number was 415-720-8500. And that was that was my YouTube wallpaper up until a year ago, was my
Oh,
Uber
wow.
referral code, because people would be like, wait a minute, is this legit? And they would go to YouTube, not watch any videos, and they would see, hey, this phone number is on a business card, and this guy's got a lot of videos. I'm not
Yeah.
watching any of them, but it looks like I'm calling this guy. And so
Mhm.
people are like, there's no way you're making any money on YouTube. I'm like, you don't understand what a business model is, which is just proving to people, this is me. People had a question about these 17 popular questions. I'm going to answer the question and record it. Makes sense, right? And
Makes
then you just,
perfect sense.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
To me, it made perfect sense. And then other people are like, I don't know if I want to do that. Cool. Like I care. But yeah, I did the Uber API, and then Chris Sacca took it over. Finally, he
Mm.
finally took it over, and he's like, "Do you mind if I take it over?" I'm like, "I do not." Is that hilarious?
That's interesting. We have a commonly shared past.
Well, it was a
Uh,
problem. It was a ginormous problem. It was a ginormous problem,
mhm.
and and the lessons from that is, you can do what I did to Uber to any app. That's what a turnaround is. Like, you can do that to Yelp. We did that at Yelp. We did that
Mm.
to Yelp, with Yelp saying thank you, because it's 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 grapefruit peels, it's an Evian bottle cap, and
Mm.
a Sharpie. And then the ability to ask some questions, which is, what problems are we going to try to hunt and solve? Because you don't need money, just like you don't need more sand at the beach. There's going to be a lot of money. There's going to be money in doing the turnaround.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, moving on, get to my last question, but I want to exchange more questions after that if there's time. Who is your favorite musical performer?
That would be the artist that the girl really wants to see.
That the
Where
girl
you're
really
like,
wants to see.
yeah, where
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not paying $700 for that, but
Yeah.
but we are going. We are going, and we're sitting floor because I'm not sitting up in the rafters. This is how we're gonna do it. So
Mm,
if it's Taylor Swift at Levi Stadium, okay, now we need to look at the calendar and now we need to gamify when is she going to perform? What are the auxiliary things that are circling around? What is a way to get ROI for music festival before that music festival? And if you can't brainstorm APIs, I'm not just spending $1,500 so that way you go. Okay, like that's not what I want to do because that's always been a problem. That's always been a problem, and that's very solvable. Which is cool, cool. Do you want to go and be in the front row or have floor seats? Okay,
mm,
what are we going to need to do? And then it's get flowers for the artist. Get flowers for the artists that are security screened via the artist's preferred florist,
mm.
where you don't just bring random flowers from some florist that she's got to Google because her security team, they're not going to fucking do that. But if you're buying her flowers from her preferred florist chain of custody, now you're like, oh, this is a fellow whale. We're gonna have to greet them backstage because that's how to send a gift is via the preferred florist, not just would you like some random objects from a fan who could be crazy. So
Mhm.
then when you're doing these things, you can DJ in some other thing that causes you to get ROI for the tickets. Maybe it's a bus from the Four Seasons to the venue. Uh, this is pre-arranged. Is there going to be a problem? And anytime there's a mega artist, there are a bazillion problems. Do they have housing? Are they going to be sleeping on the jet? No, they hate sleeping on the jet. They hate sleeping on the jet. Plus, there are fees for doing that. There are problems. So, can you DJ in, if we're still talking Taylor Swift, can you DJ in a movie launch that's at a studio for a shit theater that we're doing a turnaround for with AMC? So it isn't just, oh, let's spend $1,500 and sit floor. It's, hey, have you thought about being the studio and the distributor for doing a movie that replicates your concert experience?
Mm.
And that's ROI for that's return on investment for your time in Kansas City, where, oh, I don't
Mm.
even need to come to the show. You're already going to be doing a show in Kansas City. Would you like an intro? Let's have you connect to your advanced planner to a executive that will net you way more than the X dollars via dollars per minute. And so all you're doing is just brainstorming APIs because the
Yeah.
artist, they probably want to do a film and they never knew that they could be both the studio and the distributor. Keep more money, keep more money,
Mm.
Taylor Swift. And that's where you're doing the agent, doing the manager, you're doing people's job for them because, hey, steal my idea, steal it, okay? Go ahead and try to steal it because you can steal it, but why would you? And nobody ever steals the idea. And every newbie is like, don't steal my idea. And you're like, yeah, it's just not, it's so counter, to me, it's not even counterintuitive. To me, it's basic is people aren't going to steal it from you, but dumb people always say, don't steal my crappy idea. Whereas smart people are like, if you think you're going to steal this idea and I'm going to give you 3 more ideas, that's not how money works. How are you even successful? And then people are like, yeah, I wasn't going to steal your idea. But people with bad ideas, they're like, oh, this is my only one idea. That's because you have bad ideas. You have bad ideas, you have bad protocols, and then you think people are going to steal it from you because you're not good. Where if you were good luck stealing the next 13 ideas that I'm going to poop via my next 3 live streams. You see how many franchises get pooped out, which is what's one of the franchises that's a joke franchise where you heard it and you're like, oh my God, that's hilarious. I wonder if he actually is going to make money doing it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question.
Isn't that a great question?
Oh man. The last thing I can think of is a restaurant. Oh, it's a restaurant that came here to Wisconsin in 2010. It was a pizza place, and all the ingredients were garbage. They were all out of a can. It was called Figaro's Pizza. It was owned by a gentleman named Jim Berger out in Washington State. And he came here, and what they had done is they'd partnered with Blimpies. So every location had a Blimpies and a Figaro's Pizza. And I went there to just check it out to see what it was about and have some of the pizza. And it was garbage. It was the worst thing I had ever put in my mouth. And this was a place that had bought out 25 chains in Wisconsin. And they were looking to expand and start from there in 2010 and on. And now they don't exist anymore.
What question did you think you answered? What did you think my question was?
What was a franchise that you thought was ridiculous?
No. So it was a joke franchise, Chapter 69 Snowball. A joke franchise. A joke franchise
Okay.
from my YouTube live streams. The reason I'm asking this question is all of my live streams, it's a pop quiz for money. It's a pop quiz for money because each video doesn't have a gate fee or a paywall. It's just, did you pick up the money? So the question again is, what joke franchise, which is Chapter 69 Snowball, did I jokingly say that you remember that is a money franchise?
Oh, okay. That is a money franchise from your live streams.
Haven't you heard 80 of them? Haven't you heard 80? 80?
80. Oh.
No, haven't you heard like 90 of them? Which is the Uber API. That's a joke. Like all of them are jokes. And this is where I'm putting you on the hot seat to make you squirm because you should be picking up. This is cowboy culture. This is cowboy culture because what chapter of Warren Buffett's book is it?
Oh, you do talk about Warren Buffett's book quite a bit in your live streams.
That's because it's the most underrated book for under $20.
Yeah.
Where it's Chapter 69, which is start a joke franchise. Because I don't think that you've started a franchise for $0 because if you did, you'd have started one. So do you remember any of the joke franchises that I talked about? Were you there for 2 girls 1 cup of knowledge.
2 girls, 1 cup of 2 girls, 1 cup of knowledge. I remember seeing the title on the
That's
stream,
what
but
I
I
did
didn't watch the
yesterday.
stream.
That's what I
You
did
did that
yesterday.
yesterday?
That's what I did yesterday, which is why I didn't live stream on Saturday.
Oh,
Is
okay.
I did it as 2 girls, 1 cup of knowledge, because the variation is 1 guy, 1 book. Because 2 girls, 1
Yeah.
book is a 3-way, but how do you get your 3-way going, which is 2 girls, 1 book? But initially it starts with 1 guy, 1 book, and that's what I did yesterday. Was I brought 1 book, but the way to do it, I didn't want to cheat. I mean, that's not cheating, but it's to be 1 guy, 2 books.
Yeah.
1 guy, 2 books it works fantastically well because it's 2 books that are the same book. People are going to ask you, what in the world are you doing with 2 copies of the same book? Where I brought 2 copies of the same book on day 21 of 26
Yeah.
days of Grok 4 ducking bankruptcy. What were you going to say?
Those 2 copies of that book, were they limitless?
No, it was product management playbook. But you could easily do limitless also. Because people are going to say, are you the author? Why do you have 2 versions of your book? And then you're like, no, that's a dumb question. Or that's a genius question. It just is how you ask questions. And you're baiting a person to say, hey, nerd, why do you have 2 copies of your own book? Because once they attack you, now they're about to throw money at you because you would say, oh, no, they're not my book. This book would actually be applicable for you because of chapter 4, which is the way you ask questions. I want to say 62. I want to say 64. And maybe if I was just a wild ass guesser, I would also say page 67. And they'd be like, what? What? You memorized the book? And you're like, no, Larry taught me to just memorize the 3 pages so I can sell you chapter 13 for $800, which is my chapter on memorization. Not my chapter, Jim Quick's chapter on memorization. See, I slipped and said my chapter. But now they're intrigued where they're like, wow, are you limitless? Because you memorized his shitty question. You're baiting the shitty questions, which is why you have 2 copies of the book. But then people who are successful, they don't ask shitty questions. They ask good questions, in which case you're like, wow, that's a really good question. And this book actually talks about really good questions. I want to say it's in chapter, I don't know, 4. Like, you would appreciate this book. You asked an empowering question. Questions are the answer. I want to say that's page 62. Let me look it up to see if it's right. And you flip to page 62 and you're like, oh my God, page 62, questions are the answer. And it's just it's a magic trick with a book. Magic tricks with playing cards are gay. They're stupid. They're damn stupid.
I don't really like, my cousin does playing tricks with playing cards, and they're always they're not that entertaining.
Yeah, and people hate it. People hate it. They watch it. They don't want to see it. This is a trick with a paper copy of a book. And it works literally every time. We did it in Miami at 1 a.m., where if there were ever a place for a book to not work, that would be Miami nightclubbing. And then that's where we gave birth to the joke franchise. Book club at a nightclub. Book club at a nightclub. Book club at a nightclub. And then club owners were like, hey, can you do book club at a nightclub? We'll pay you. We can pay you for this.
Well, that's a nice turnaround. That's amazing. Yeah, book club in a nightclub.
Book club in a nightclub. And all you need is one book. You don't need 7. You just need one book. You don't even need a real book. You can print out a speculative copy of your future book, put it wrapped on a book, because people never look inside the book. They can only look at the cover. They can't read. People can't read. People can't read.
One final thing. We're almost at time here. I was wondering if we could get a quick prayer in.
Sure. Should I
Okay.
lead it off? Do you want to lead it off?
Yes. Oh, you lead it off. We'll do as we did last time. You lead it off.
Nice.
I'll segue in the middle, and then you cap it off at the end.
Sounds good.
All right.
Father Lord, thank you for this venue. I can literally smell the PF Chang's as I'm hungry, as we're sharing knowledge with a fellow brother. And thank you for the blessing of a dog barking, a distraction that just adds energy. Why? Because that's what we're faced with in our world, is being able to once in a while remember, hey, this would be a really good time for a quick prayer.
And thank you, Lord, for Fogo charcoal, which I've got 3 bags of now. And when springtime hits, we're going to start cooking with that. And I greatly look forward to the non-ashy sediments and the cooking greatness that will come from its wonderful inherent value. Thank you so much for these conversations with a fellow brother who knows his way around turnarounds and has great interjections in conversation.
Father Lord, thank you for this prayer time, because we should do Ash Wednesday at the Super Bowl, where it's not even Ash Wednesday. We can call it like pre-gaming Ash Wednesday, where we cook Ash food on a Wednesday. Oh my God. Oh my God. Thank you, Lord, for my brain. Thank you, Lord, for blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'm sorry, the dog was interrupting again. I really
didn't hear.
am. Oh, you're good. I'm angry with my neighbor for not paying more attention to his dog.
Don't
Yeah.
be the dog whisperer from the wall. Be the dog whisperer from the wall. Be the dog whisperer. Be the dog whisperer. Be the dog whisperer. Whispering to your. The first thing we do before we whisper is we first have to manipulate our own nervous system, which is, what about this interruption can we financially benefit from? Because the Ash Wednesday thing, that's hilarious. That's funny. That's funny because I don't think it's Ash Wednesday, but there is Ash on Wednesday. It's something like that. And that's a joke franchise. That's a joke franchise. And you don't even need to travel to San Francisco. I would do it in the frozen tundra. I would do it. I would do it. I would do it wherever. I would do it wherever, I think.
Yeah. We might actually try grilling if we get together on Super Bowl Sunday, but I may actually be stuck in the lab on that day. It's a big intake day for the Red Cross. So we'll see. Yeah. Where are you going to be on Super Bowl?
I'm going to be in Palo Alto at Levi Stadium. So
wow.
Yeah, it's the 55 days of Grok 4 at SF Super Bowl.
Nice.
That's a joke franchise. That's a complete joke franchise, because it's day 69 of the 55 days, because day number 1 is December 1. So day 69 is February 8, because it's December, then January, and then February 8 is day 69 of the 55 days of Grok 4 at SF Super Bowl. And it builds upon these 26 days. So it's like day 131 of the 26 days of Grok 4 ducking bankruptcy. And so do you see how all these days cascade because because Aerospike, all these days dovetail together because of Four Seasons, November 20, November 21, where there might be a Four Seasons tie-in at the Palo Alto Four Seasons. Definitely at the San Francisco Four Seasons.
Yeah.
757 Market, 757 Market.
Nice. Well, Larry, as always, it's been amazing talking to you. I'd like to set up another interview again sometime. I've got to get going to get to a dinner with some friends, but maybe you'll get to PF Chang's after we're done. Yes. Thank you again, and have a good night.
What questions do you guys have? What questions do you guys have? I like that it could apply to your potential turnarounds. Thank you, Larry Chang, for the morning video when you said people only know 350 words. Larry Silverspoof, why does it show off my better side? Does it show that I can listen? Is that what's going on? I feel as if I could have done better with that prayer, but whatever. Oh, I know why the prayer could have been better, because I didn't I didn't I didn't take into consideration one, it felt really muted, but the thing that I wanted to do was take into consideration maybe people who had never prayed before, and that is, it's like laughter as a on-ramp. It's like laughter as an on-ramp to, oh my God, I didn't know that prayers could do this. Cool. I'm glad you guys like the Q&A format. I like the unhinged format in a monologue too. Not that I like it, but it's cathartic. It's not cathartic in a emotional release kind of way. It's 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 a transfer download of kind of what this is, which is can you go from not point A to point B, but basically point A to point B, which is with a person in your ear hole saying, let's do a joke franchise. Let's do another funny joke. Why are we just doing jokes? Well, because it's a monologue, like it's stand-up comedy, which is the joke of, can you do two girls, one book? because initially it starts as one dude, one book, and it's kind of like a monologue. It's rough to get up and going. Why? People actively don't like you, people don't actively support you. It's kind of the game on hard mode, but two girls, one book, it's hilarious. And it works literally every time, 100% of the time. Why? Because 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 it's a trap. It's a sexy trap, and I already know the questions that you're going to ask. I already know the questions that you're going to ask. Okay, so yeah, it's amazing that it's three girls, one book, but the hard part is the replicable part, which is, can you do the startup where you're at zero girl, you're at zero? Can you start it? Because saying, oh, Larry's great, Larry did this, that doesn't help. What helps is I made myself do it on the 22nd of hashtag 26 days of Grok 4 ducking BK. Also, am I the only person who's benefiting from that hashtag? Because that's not how it should be. It's not, oh, Larry does a monologue and Larry benefits. That's not, that's not, that's not what we're doing. I mean, that's what occasionally is an accident, but that's not how it works. The way it works is I say genius stuff, and then you write it down, and then you go, oh my God, it actually fucking works. That's just how easy it is. That's just how easy it is. Let me say a joke, and then you do it, okay? Like, you're going to do three things for $800 three times, and they're all around a book. Why? Because you can't walk around with a video because nobody's going to talk to you about a video. Book number one, Snowball. So, Snowball is where she blows you and then tries to spit it back into your mouth. Yeah, yeah, that's how I got introduced to Snowball, where you're like, what? What? So she's like, it's also a Warren Buffett book. I'm like, okay, I don't like Warren Buffett. I think he's Warren Buffett. Like, there's nothing good about Warren Buffett. And then she goes, page 123. She didn't quite say page 123, but because I'm telling the story, she said page 123. So she says, Warren Buffett got into Columbia the same way that you got into Stanford GSP, page 123. So I'm like, fine, fine, fine. I'll get the book. You're welcome, chapter 69. You're welcome, chapter 65, which is addendum, because Warren Buffett's not going to be writing a sequel to Snowball. You are. You are going to write a Snowball book called Two Chapters. Well, actually more than two, but your book will just be two chapters, which is chapter 1 through chapter 64. That's his whole entire book, written by Alice Schoenfeld. You're going to sell the book, and then you're going to go speak at Berkshire Hathaway. Why? Because you're unemployed and you need a job. What better way to go get a job than to go talk to a room full of rich people who have no idea what the F Larry Chang's even talking about? You have no idea because you ask bad questions, which is, gosh, he's really, really, really good looking, and he comes to Omaha a lot. He's a celebrity. He just says crazy shit. You're making $800 by translating chapter 69, a joke franchise, which is you showing up with 2 books to the Marriott downtown Omaha virtually before you do it realistically. So what we're doing is we're doing 2 books, 1 you. Because doing 3 girls, 1 book, 1 Larry Chiang, that's too far ahead. That's like Tuesday. It's only Sunday, and I've told you how many times to buy Snowball. You won't do it. Let's achieve something, which is 2 books, 1 you. So you're gonna just memorize 1 mother scratching page number, page 123. That's how Warren Buffett got into Columbia. Is he wrote a letter to Paul Graham, Ben Graham, Paul Graham. It's just Graham Cracker, which is you get ready for someone saying Warren Buffett, that Berkshire Hathaway is going to suck. Him and Charlie just retired. And then you say, scoreboard, you're a retard. In fact, that's what you should exactly say, because you're welcome. That's why. That's why. So when they say something like, oh, Warren Buffett, he sucks, you say scoreboard, and then you say, you're a retard. And then you say page 123. Because they didn't go to Columbia. They didn't go to Stanford GSB, and you can just point them towards 1 page, which is Ben Graham, the intelligent investor, told Warren Buffett he could go because he wrote a letter. That's how I got in. That's how I got in, page 123. So that's 2 books, 1 you, and then you say, you're a retard. And they'll be like, oh, why? They won't be like, fuck you. They'll be like, yeah, I am a retard. I'm rich and I'm retarded. And then they'll say, well, why? And then you'll say, oh, because retards like you think that Charlie and Warren retired and now Berkshire Hathaway is going to suck. Seems a bit kiss-ass-ish to do it after every point. No, it's not. You can never kiss enough ass when you're pulling $800K from the people that are going to be paying you $800 or $800K. People just don't like to risk. They don't like to risk 800 units of money, but they will if you help them make money. It's not that I liked thank yous during the stream. It's if you can't be thankful, you're fucked. That's why I don't need thank yous. It's when you're not thankful the way that I'm thankful, because I'm super thankful, which is why this is my thankfulness, is this is my gratitude, which is when you have 2 books, nobody's going to say, is that your book? Meaning, did you write that book? You wrote 2 addendum chapters using AI. And if we're going to be specifically genius, you wrote chapter 65 through chapter 72. If you can't make $800 selling chapter 65, because the entire book is chapters 1 through 64, if you can't mushy 65, which is Columbia as your springboard, page 123, if you can't mushy chapter 69, which is a joke franchise, chapter 72, you are retarded and you've never watched a Larry Chiang monogamy, which is you shouldn't be watching other people. You should be watching Larry Chiang because I'm walking you through a guaranteed way to rip $800. If you don't make $800, I will buy you your 2 books. Offer unlimited, because there's no way that it doesn't work if you can just memorize page 1, 2, 3. Actually, there is a way, which is when the guy gives you $800, you go, oh, I need it in my currency, 800 freaking rupees. And you're like, $800 is 8 billion times more than 800 rupees. Customers don't care about solution until they care about your problems. I don't know about that. What I do know is that people who are rich, they pay for information from the future, where you might think, oh, I need you to sell me on the fact that you care before I know that you care, so that way I'll be your customer. Then you'll be like, cool. I think that's stuff that poor people say. I do think that that's stuff that poor people say. Maybe poor people say it. I don't know. But the only person I know who's willing to pay $800 for something that they could have bought on Amazon for $20 are rich people. And this is where we're not trying to sell poor people things. We're not trying to sell poor people. We're not trying to sell poor people. You might be thinking, I'm trying to sell you on no longer being poor. You might think that. You might think that. You might think customers don't care about your solution, they care about their problems. You're actually mixing up the quote, because because prospects won't buy from you your solution until they know that you care. So let me examine your quote. Customers don't care about your solution, they care about their problems. Yeah. So maybe I was too hard on you for repurposing the age-old thing that poor people say, which is sell people on the fact that you emotionally care about them before you rip money from their pocket, is kind of the core tenet that is incorrect. But you're right. Customers don't care about your solution. They just care about their problems. Here's the other thing that customers care about is they have 2 things: no need and no trust. So you hammer the need, and then the trust thing, you say, look, for the $800, you can claw back your 800 whenever. You can claw back the 800 whenever. So this is consultative salesperson, no need, no trust. That is LCRRM, the Larry Chiang reverse rebate model. This is what it is. You sell for $800. You just go, look, if you just read 2 of the chapters, I'll give you $800 back. See, what you're doing here is you're forcing them to understand that you know and I know that they're retarded and that they can't read. If they do read 2 chapters, they will self-fund their trip to Omaha, which is their best financial decision. Why? Because I know something that you don't know, which is I've sat behind waiting for an octogenarian to hand over the reins so that way I could be the octogenarian, because that's who's second in command running shit now at Berkshire Hathaway, now that Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett have retired. Everybody thinks, oh, it's not going to be as good. Everybody thinks that. And I'm not going to say everybody's wrong, but everybody is wrong. It's so obvious. It's so obvious because you've just suppressed a person who should have been CEO, because Charlie and Warren, They haven't been doing genius shit for the last 15 years. Was it super helpful? That was number one, snowball, $800. Number two, snowball your way into chapter 66, which is selling Limitless, which is Jim Quick's book, memorizing 62, 64, 67, Mushi, 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 chapter 13. That's another $800. There is no way to screw that up. Larry, how does the reverse rebate model work? They don't read chapters 1 and 2 for read 2 chapters with Jim Quick's book, nor the Warren Buffett book. They're reading two incredibly specific chapters, KWIK, which is pay me $800, read chapter 4. If you read chapter 4, I will give you $400 back. Next, read chapter 14. After you read chapter 14 or 13, pick a number, 13 or 14. And then if they say, oh, if I read 3 chapters, will you pay me $400? You say, you're a retard. Don't even pay me the $800. I'm rescinding the offer because you're a retard. And then they'll be like, no, I was just joking, sorry. And then you say, no, it's one strike, you're out. That deal was too good for you. But since that deal is off the table, here's the deal that is still on the table, which is you buy the book yourself and you read 2 of those chapters, email me a book report on those 2 chapters. You may not pay me $800. If they're rich, they'll be like, no. Like, you're a wizard. I saw you memorize chapter 67 or page 67. I saw you memorize that. So I need to be limitless. And it feels like will be the best $800 ever spent. This is why we only sell things to rich people, because poor people can't spend 60 minutes to get $800 better because they've never gotten $800 better. Number 3, remember, number 1 was Snowball. Number 2 was Limitless. Number 3 was the book that I used yesterday. Go ahead and email me and I'll tell you the book that I read yesterday. For one book, one hot girl who realized, oh my God, he wasn't joking. LinkedIn is his dating app.